Hey everybody, welcome back to Sex, Drugs, and the Epigenome. I am invisible today, but we have some fantastic faces. One that you're probably familiar with, Dr. Seeds. Thank you again for joining us. I feel like I'm working you to the bone over the last couple weeks, so
You
I
are.
do apologize, but not really. Sorry, not sorry.
You
Awesome.
are.
Today, we have such an incredible guest with us that I spoke with and met for the first time not too long ago and just knew that our podcast listeners needed to hear a story. This is Victor. Victor, where are you?
I'm in
First question
Toronto,
to that.
Toronto, Canada.
Toronto, that's right. So
Yeah.
he's joining us from Toronto. He's a recent patient of Dr. Seeds over the last couple of years, and he has an incredible story. I'm going to let Dr. Seeds kind of start that story off, but before we begin, I want everyone to know that as usual, our podcast is for medical educational purposes only. It is not a diagnosis or any sort of prescription for our listeners. Please always consult with your healthcare providers before moving forward with any of the therapies and treatments that you hear us discussing today. That said, Doc, let's open up the can of worms on this incredible story.
All right. Well, Victor, thanks for being here on the show and for sharing your insight, your story, and your I think your message of hope for people out there facing possibly similar hurdles in other areas of where potentially changing cell efficiency, flexibility, senescence, all of those things can potentially have an influence and um, in looking at disease, inherited disease, genetic diseases, and processes like that, where maybe a different focus can have some influence on helping people in areas of where they possibly have lost hope. And so I really thank you for being here. And I think that the best place to start with you, Victor, is I'd like to just give you a chance to tell everybody, about yourself and what you've been struggling with potentially before we met, and then we can get into the aspects of how we met or what we ended up doing, and where you've gone with that. But I think the best part, without me explaining that, is for you to tell your own story. And let's start with that.
Yeah, so I'm, known as the blind biohacker. I kind of gave myself that name a couple of years back. But basically, at a young age, I was diagnosed with this condition called retinitis pigmentosa at about 9 years old. And from a doctor back then telling me that having this condition that I would slowly go blind and there was nothing that I could do about it. Basically, symptoms of retinitis pigmentosa are severe night blindness and severe tunnel vision, extreme tunnel vision. So,
Right, meaning that you're losing it's a disease. It's something that affects the rods and cones in the back of your eye, and it's something where you lose peripheral vision. So
from
your
the
vision just kind of condenses into, like you said, a tunnel.
yeah, and that tunnel had been shifting from the outside in, slowly most of my life. And it often doesn't look like anything is wrong with me because I make eye contact. So, I was able to get away with it for a long time, or fake it, or adapt, whatever you want to call it, most of my life. And up until a point, I was actually able to get my driver's license at 16, and then at 21, I went in for a routine eye exam and found out that the fields were drastically worsening, which that moment of losing my license was a big tragic event in my life, where I went through nervous breakdown, like a lot of mental health issues occurred from that event. I basically wasn't prepared for that loss of independence, and it really, affected my life. And I struggled with depression from that time forward, and like lost a lot of hope that I was just gonna go blind, and there was nothing that could be done about it. So it really, I had my wake up moments, like about 10 years after that, reading books like Norman Deutsch's The Brain That Changes Itself, learning a lot about neuroplasticity. And I was dealing with a lot of other things too, like learning dysfunctions as well, which I had for most of my life. So always feeling like I was really bad at school or stupid, and it again it affected my life. It affected how I got employment, and it was just one thing after another with me, just like a complete loss of hope. And this book was a big game changer for me, saying that it might be possible, because the thing with neuroplasticity is the brain can change if given the right environment and the right stimulus to help one think better or think more in a like a holistic way. And that was really the start of what empowered me to be like, oh wow, there's a lot more that I can do to heal myself. And it's like doctors in the white coat, they say you're diagnosed with this, you have this, you can't do anything. And that takes your power away, really, because you think, oh, they know everything and I don't know anything, so they're right. And a lot of what healing is in the mind. And uh and I think that's such a harmful thing that doctors probably don't even realize that they are doing to patients by giving them this stamp and saying, you're screwed. So that book really taught me that the body is really, really intelligent. And if you're in the right environment, you can fix things. I mean, it's hard to get well in the same environment you got sick in. And environment could mean the inner environment, the mind, and the outer environment, external forces, what you eat, your light environment, etc. So again, that was a big start to my healing journey. Um, I went to this Aerosmith school and spent about 2 years reprogramming my brain through neuroplastic exercises, which was a lot of hard work. And then I found this connection between the eyes and the brain in there as well. So I did a lot of vision rehabilitation. I used to wear glasses, and found out about, there's this thing called the Bates method, that you can actually, fix the eyes and reduce the need for glasses. So I ended up reducing my prescription by 33%. So I was like, oh wow, if this is possible, like what else is possible? And my retinitis pigmentosa is a genetic condition. So I always thought, like, nothing can be done about it. But with what we learn now about epigenetics, it's the environment controls the genes, not the other way around. So again, that was super empowering. And yeah, it's been a big healing mission and journey, and to really explore my inner worlds and outer worlds. And it's I mean, that's the sort of short end to how I got here. I made a film about my healing journey as well, which was awesome, and very powerful in itself. All the different modalities that I've done and tried to kind of get to where I am now. And like that film was released 2 years ago, before I was started working with Dr. Seed. So there's been a new chapter of healing and growth with what I'm doing. And a lot of that has included peptides. I mean, I found out about peptides, about 2 years ago through what the Russians were doing. There's a lot of studies, what they were doing with my condition. And I thought, like, man, this stuff is amazing. These, and I, wanted to talk to, an expert. And, here I am. I'm in front of the expert, the peptide expert. So, yeah, I mean, that's a short version of why I'm on this call today.
So that's a wonderful and it's a wonderful introduction of yourself, and thank you for sharing all those issues, because I think it's really important for people to know that I think you touched on something so important, that you're in a time um, of your life where you're going through hormonal changes, um, brain changes actually, that are going to form you for your identity for the rest of your life. And you express the difficulty and other things that you were also experiencing at the same time. And I think that is so crucial for people to get to validate that, even though we're talking about the retinosis pigmentosum, it's much more than that. And it had everything to do and affect other aspects of your life, that are significant in your identity, your mental health, everything about you. And it's how these processes, these diseases or dysfunctions, whatever they are, they have global effects, not just specific to the area, but to the body. And in your quest of knowledge, it was really great. And I think that's where maybe we can talk a little bit more, because you've shared some of that, because I think the depression and all of those issues are so important to share with other people, that you can pull out of that, and that you can, when you start not just treating the disease, but you start treating everything, that can be a defining moment for so many people, because sometimes those are the little things you can grasp onto first. And in fact, like yourself, some of the things that you may start to realize, okay, I'm feeling a little better, or I'm having these changes, that I can handle this anxiety a little better, or I can handle this. And those are the things that you grasp onto when you kind of throw yourself into something you're not familiar with, what can happen, and where you're going to go with everything. So that's something that we can kind of jump into in a second. But where I wanted to go with this was, I think our first discussion was, I was you were on an island somewhere, Malta, was it? Is that right? Malta? And we had been trying to get hooked up. And I said, Victor, is there any way, can you tell me anything about yourself? And you said, yeah, I made a movie about myself. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is a great start. Let me take a look. You go, yeah, I think I sent you that movie, doc. I really would love for you to take a look at it. And so we talked, right, for quite a while. And then we had a couple, I think at the beginning, I'm all about discovery and questions, and that can take up a lot of time, but it's necessary, right? Because I need information. And I think you probably understand the methods of my madness of, the more I know about you, the more I can help you. And so I watched your movie, was very touched by your movie, which I think everybody needs to take the time, and hopefully we can get a link for people to take a look at it, because I think it's so well done. It's a beautiful movie. And I think it parlays well into this next chapter of your life. So from that, we discussed about what we could do, how we were going to do it, possibilities. I got, I I think for me, the bigger part of it was, and if you could talk a little bit about it here a little bit more, is I would like you to tell people more about the other struggles besides this going, your eyes getting worse, about the depression, about the anxiety, about those things, because that's really powerful in giving that information out to people who don't want to talk about those things. You know, those are things they try to hide. Those are things they don't want to discuss because they think if you just take care of the disease, you'll take care of everything else. And it doesn't work that way. So if you could, I'd love for you to just kind of maybe talk about when we first talked, when you were on that beautiful island, I think. And I was in the OR, I think, the first time I talked to you. And then how that discussion went, and then asking you more about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was I was at my home country. My parents were both from Malta, so a big part of my ancestry is from that island, Malta. So I'm a dual citizen. So yeah, that's where I was. But yeah, it's the depression and mental health have been a big part of my life because I've been dealing with it for the majority of my life. I mean, I had just the way my life unfolded through certain things. You know, I had you know an abusive uh, parental background where I came from, which was learning a lot about that, how that affected my life. And on top of that, I think I was already dealing with stuff to begin with, and then losing my license was just this complete avalanche. And you know, like I went to doctors, psychiatrists. I was on, you know, you name the med, I was on it. Anything from antidepressant medications to anti-anxiety medications, and nothing helped. They were all just major band-aids. And uh, you know, it really took a lot of really trying to understand the depth of the problem, and how, you know, you can go to a talk therapist and talk till you're blue in the face about your problems, and nothing doesn't seem to go away, or you're still depressed, or you're still, you know, because a lot of that stuff is ends up being in the unconscious realm of who we are. And to quote Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. So how do you bring that unconscious mind into, you know, into the conscious self, to integrate and to alleviate these traumas that were imprinted, especially from, you know, the early childhood 0 to 6 age group. Those are when you're most impressionable, and that really forms your adult being. So that was to gaining this knowledge of the work that I've done to excavate my childhood trauma through different modalities. Really helped. A lot of, and from what I'm learning, a lot of vision is, I mean, we see with our brains, not with our eyes. So the mindset of what we see comes from the mind and mindset. And it's well documented that, you know, certain things like myopia and other vision issues is the body's way of not wanting to see something. So, you know, if a trauma happened 20 feet away, you know, you end up like being like nearsighted and can't see the stuff far away because the body doesn't want to see it. I mean, a lot of it is really controlled by the unconscious mind. Again, it's also well documented that people who've had split personality disorders have a different pair of glasses for their different personalities. So I mean, like, how much, you know, of that is going, like what's going on there? So it really forced me to think like there's you know, to really understand the difference between the conscious and unconscious mind. So it's it life was a big struggle, and being on the floor, so to speak, or being suicidal, or at this point where it's like it's either sink or swim, and really learning how to get to those spaces and places to help. And again, I read a lot of books, like Dr. Gabor Mate taught me a lot about the power of like how much childhood trauma again can affect your adult life. And it's important to really find modalities like somatic therapy, which has been very helpful for me, to help uh, understand my unconscious mind, again to relieve trauma, to 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 better myself, and to let that energy go. And that's what it is. It's this unresolved issue that has an energetic imprint in the body that we were too afraid to see, and too afraid, and weren't really given the right environment to feel safe enough to have that energy get released. So that's been a big part of it. And it's been so freeing to do this work, to help me see. And I think that's a big part of it, to helping me again see. So mixed in, again, it's back to this inner world outer world balance of being in the right environment to feel safe for these things to move through you.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
And I think you, and that brings us into, where did we start with introducing Victor to looking at some potential. So we had some issues that we had to start with before Victor could come visit me at my facility, the Spire, and just with travel and what was happening and so forth. So we started some things before, and my focus was really Victor was like, Victor knew a lot too. I got to give Victor a lot of credit. Guy does his research, and he really dove into things, and it was great. And it continues to be good to be able to have conversations with Victor, because he he has great questions, and he's very comfortable in letting me guide him the right way without jumping right into the overall treatment of which he was looking for right at the very beginning, where he's like, let's just, can we focus on these things that I can do? Victor's like great. He's always sending me like a research paper on this new peptide. And I've said, Victor, that's been around for a couple of years, but that's a great paper because that's something we can look at. But remember, Victor, I'm all about treating everything at the beginning, and then it's that same analogy of I'm out here, and then I come in, I just kind of bring everything together. And that's where I saw with Victor in his whole story here, I saw I needed to really start working on the entire brain, not just the eye brain connection, but the entire brain, and his body, his gut, his overall health. And that's where the story begins. Is we kind of we without getting into too much detail, Victor gave me that opportunity where he said, you know what, because he's a very smart guy, and he's done his research, and he's read his books, and he's worked with a lot of really brilliant people, and he really listened to what I had to say, and he validated it to himself that, okay, I'm going to go with this. I think I understand what you're trying to do. And so we worked first on just some simple things, and that was to work on immune modulation and cell efficiency aspects of the way I work with everything right off the beginning. And we did that for quite a while. And and it was great to kind of hear Victor's feedback of you know, a little bit. It was like, it's always you've got to let people convince themselves by looking back at their experience. How am I improving? And I knew right away I'm not going to make any changes with his vision, because those are big changes that take time, and those are things that need to be validated by testing and all these things that just aren't going to happen right away. But I do know, as you're improving cell efficiency and you're working on immune modulation, which immune modulation for Victor is tremendously a big part of this, that there are little players that of those nuggets I said, of where he can realize, okay, you know what, some things are getting better. And maybe we can go into that, Victor. You can just kind of give some of those, if you can recall any of that, and maybe I just dug myself in a hole here, but maybe you can reiterate. Yeah, there were some of those moments that I had that kind of that gave me some feedback that, wow, maybe I'm on the right road here, and maybe this is making sense to me, that this method is validated.
Yeah, and I've been dealing with brain issues. I was dealing with them my whole life, and my gut was a mess for a really really long time, and I felt like I've done everything under the sun. And, before I met you as well, like I've been like biohacking for a while. I've been doing labs for the past like 5 6 years, tracking vitamin D levels, tracking, you name it. I've spent quite a bit of money on labs, and it
Yes, you
nothing.
did. Yes, Victor, you did have quite a lot of lab work that you sent me.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not that I wasn't doing anything before. I was really like looking into what's affecting me, and again, the gut. Everyone knows that the gut is huge and can be kind of complex, and you know I've took quite a bit of BPC. My gut's been great. My gut's, I feel it's back to normal, where I had IBS or you name it. And I mean, the gut affects the brain as well, and my sleep was a big disaster
It was a
as
mess.
well. You
Yeah, it
know,
was a mess.
there's still some aspects where I'm working on, but it's a heck of a lot better from where it was before. And obviously, if something's been going on for a really long time, it might need some time to sort of get there. It's the same thing what you were saying with my eyesight. If it took me 30 40 years to get to this point with my vision loss, it might take some time to sort of go back the other way. So I mean, those were the big things. I mean, a lot of people complain about the gut and sleep and and the brain.
What
So
what about like anxiety and the depression part, things like that? What about any, did you feel like you had any sort of insight, like, okay, wow, I'm having some moments here where I feel like more clarity, or I feel I'm not as anxious, or I've really got my brains kind of coming together a little bit better with more coherent thoughts, more executive function, more, there's a lift. So I don't want to give you all the phrases that you use, but if you can remember any of that, can you bring any of that stuff up?
of course, yeah, it's a big part of it. I mean, there was times like I think, last year where I was messaging you saying, I was going through a hard time and feeling like crap and my mood was out the window. And then we introduced P P22. Am I getting that one right? That
Yep.
that as
P
well. And
26, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So uh it's strange when it almost feels like two different people when you're in the mood or in a depression. It's like, man, that was me, and like, wow, I just feel like a completely different person, a lot more free. Whether these issues are from severe inflammation, which I probably think they are stemming from, and again, trauma. So again, these are the inner world outer world things that I'm talking about. So it's made a huge difference. I feel, again, a different person, and my ability to think and put things together have completely changed. I mean, now I'm in the process of, organizing this vision optimization summit
which
as
is
well.
amazing.
So it's, and hoping to put together another film of like a sequel, second chapter of where I'm
Right.
going and where it's been. But
Right. And
it's
I
been a
think
huge
that,
difference. It's been a
sure.
huge difference.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the keys. One of when we had our original conversation, you were worried about, would you be able to do your next venture of your next chapter in your life, because you knew there was more and you wanted to produce more, but you felt that you were losing your brain too, that you couldn't, just couldn't sit down, you couldn't do any of those things, and you felt that gloom, and you felt all of the, it seemed like it was the right time for us to meet, because uh, you were ready for that next, step, and you were ready to listen now, to potentially some other ways of tackling this, and that's I think that you deserve so much credit for that, in that you're willing to, push yourself continually to, even if it didn't make sense to maybe at the beginning to you, but maybe it did, that these are things that had to happen to set the environment for us to really work on the other issues of potentially slowing down or maybe making some changes with your vision. And that was, I think that those were the turning points for you that I needed to keep hearing from you, like, okay, doc, I got this, this is we hit this right, this is better, we're getting better here, or hey doc, I'm slipping a little bit with this, what do you think? I mean, you really have, you've pushed a tremendous amount of ground in a very, a very short time, I would say. Even if it's over a year, it's still a short period of time, because like you said, this has been 30 or 40 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
um, I will, and I give you, a lot of credit for coming down to see me in my facility. It was, I felt like you were overwhelmed a little bit when you showed up, but you know what, you pushed right through it, and I think I think that was another turning point for you also, was to see, just to meet my team, and to see the crew that I have, and how I'm blessed with just
Mm-hmm.
tremendous people, that work with me, and how we do look at everything, right? We didn't just look at your eyeballs and your brain, we looked at your whole body, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's a big part of it. I mean, it's like this holistic approach. I mean, if the eyes aren't, the eyes are connected to everything else, so we got to look at everything, and it's just a snowball effect. So you
Right.
got to look at everything, and that's what you did, and that's what you've taught me to do, and again, feeling quite blessed. So
Right. And I, so in kind of putting without dragging this out too much, um, which is, I think it's going to be, I'm now of, I love being able to use this as a platform to help you push your message out there with
mm-hmm.
what you are capable of doing now. And I know you're going to do an amazing job with this, not just with the summit, but with your next chapter, your next story, your next venture. I'm really excited for you, because I think where we're just, like I told you, we're just at the beginning. We've set the platform.
Mm-hmm.
We've given you the parameters of understanding how we can kind of put some things into play to control a lot of these other factors. And then we started doing some more to work on this cell efficiency aspect of and cell senescence, and how we could try to make some of those things better, um, not getting too deep into the neuroanatomy, but in what I felt was we needed to address to try to make some changes in your vision. And maybe you can share with everybody, where you've gone with that, and how, what possible changes you have seen. And that would be, I think that's going to be something very nice to share with everyone.
Oh, well, when before I started working with you, I went to get baselines of my visual fields and just a general uh, checkup, and just to see where things were at. And like a couple of weeks ago, I went in for a another checkup, and it's not very common for my condition to show any change in the visual field. So I did do this visual fields test, and the right eye actually has shown improvement in the visual fields. So my optometrist was, I mean, I told her what I was doing, but she was still quite shocked that she's like, I never see that, and like with my condition. So that was like the sign of like, wow, something's happening, uh, which is, again, if for this, this condition, you talk like I'm a part of a few Facebook groups, and everyone has this, like there's a lot of people that are completely suffering with this condition and are completely hopeless, waiting for this cure, waiting for this potential of something to happen for them to get well. And like anything with the eyesight, like everyone just thinks you're screwed. Like so for that to improve eyesight, like I once was blind and now I see. Like this is going back to like the Bible of how difficult it is to get people to fix things related to the eyes. It's this weird part that we think it's impossible to correct blindness or to help people see without major interventions. So especially for something like retinitis pigmentosa, and I've seen peptides also, there's been data showing that it helps with many other things too. So like for this to happen is a it's groundbreaking, and it's a major game changer. It's like this is big, big, big news. Like especially my whole life saying there's nothing can be done about it, nothing can be done about it. I mean, there's talk about stem cells, and they always say it's 10 years away, 10 years away, but this is now. I mean, this is going on now, and it's happening to me. And it's part of my uh, mission, and it's been a big part of my dream to say that I can empower, like my body is intelligent to heal if given the right stimulus and environment. And peptides are the future of medicine, and this is proof. It's happened to me. It's happening to me. I mean, I still have room to go, but it's to show that data like these before and after, like something's happening, like wow, 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 that's crazy. So
Well,
that's proof.
it's not crazy. It's you taking control of your life, looking, not giving up, in searching for answers and empowering yourself. Like you said, empowering yourself with the potential signaling agents that could help you, because you, like you say, your cells have the intelligence to work with you, and they have the intelligence, they just need some help. And so you gave yourself that platform. And what's beautiful about this story, Victor, is talking to you now versus talking to you years ago is totally different guy. I mean, you're a totally different person. You're empowered. You're just that test itself showed you that, if anything, that unfortunately, as you know, with the progression of that, it's a progressive problem. And your my goal initially was just to hold things in track for you, to buy you time, to buy you time, to buy you time to build. And what this is showing you is that you're not going backwards, and that you've bought your time, but you also move forward, and that you have that capability, just like you told yourself from the beginning that you had that capability from all of the books you read and all the people you've worked with. Um, this is you needed those steps, I think, ahead of you to make all of this so much more powerful for you, because we've just started. Like you said, you're like waiting for me, Doc, when are we going to start this? I'm like, Victor, this is a, what do I keep telling you? I say, this is a process. This is a process. And,
Yeah.
and so you've got that now, that in your brain, which is so powerful for you. You know, this is what I keep talking about. It's like giving you those little tools that you can use to continue to help yourself in helping me help you. And it really is all you. I'm just here, I'm just guiding you. I'm just giving you some ideas. But it's all you, my friend. And this is the beauty of what I think you can share with so many other people, not just with this disease, but with and this is a, you know, devastating disease, but what you've been able to accomplish is you know, my hat's off to you as a person and as a human being. You've you've you have really come a long way in showing who you really are, and I'm very proud of you. I have to say that.
Well, thank you. And you know, one of these quotes that always stick by me and that I always remind myself of is, nothing goes away until it teaches you what you need to know. And that's like the the depth of it, where you keep looking and learning, like, what is this trying to teach me? And I often say, like, going blind taught me what it really means to see.
Wow, that's really that's profound, but it's so it's right on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a
Well,
beautiful story.
yeah,
I've
thank you,
just been,
Karen.
I feel like I've been spying on on this revelation coming out. Just a couple of questions, follow-up questions as I was listening. Doc, in a recurring theme of our conversations in our past episodes, there's always that, you said it was a process, but there's always a step one. And for Victor, when you first started treating him after you saw all those labs that he did, what was your step one for Victor?
Calming Victor down. um, Victor wanted to go right at it, and it was, meaning, you know, he wanted to increase that brain neurotrophic derived growth factor. He wanted to go right at some things, and I said, Victor, we got some work to do before we get there. We got mine. Mine was understanding the the beauty of Victor being able to just share himself with me and really be honest of how, you know, he really had some significant issues, and still does, but knows how to work with them now. You know, the depression and anxiety issues were significant for him, and they're what limited him. You know, it
Oh
limited him
wow.
every day. And so that, and the sleep thing was a big, the sleep was a really big thing for him too, and the gut. So it was like, okay, I knew right there that I had, it all comes down to, again, immune modulation early on. And so that was my focus, was to convince Victor, let me take these steps first. Let me work on immune modulation, and then let me move into efficiency. And then I'll start working on senescence a little bit later. You know, it was just taking those steps. And like I said, Victor was, you know, he just needed to talk, and he needed to hear me talk, and he needed to validate that I might have a few ideas, and I might know what I'm talking about, because Victor was very good at vetting. You know, he was vetting me. He's good at asking questions, and he was well seasoned with the years of. I mean, if you've seen Victor's lab work, holy shit! I mean, Victor, he's been there, done that, done it all. So it was, you know, I think from his side of it, it was like he was, it was telling, it was kind of just hitting him with that, not that sledgehammer, but that message that, Victor, this has many steps involved, and it's not just one magic step that's going to do it. And let me take you down this path. And he was all in. You know, he was all in, um, and and he's gaining momentum all the time. And I have to give, you know, Victor has been a wonderful person as far as realizing my insane schedule, and has been he is great about going, you know, I always felt bad where I couldn't get right back to him, or I get back to him later and he'd be like, Doc, I understand. I understand. I understand. And I always be like, wow, Victor, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. You know, but
Gosh.
he Victor's just been, he's been a pleasure to work with. And just because he just knows himself so well. And and that just helps me with other people. You know, I learn from my patients, and Victor, you know, what I can say about Victor I'm so happy for him and the where he's gone with his process just overall his whole life. But I'm going to tell Victor that he has helped other people around the world because he's given me other, you know, I pick up little things that I might have missed with other. It just helps my brain work. When I can help people like Victor, I can help other people with other things. And he has opened the door to other people getting better also.
Oh,
So Victor,
yes.
you're affecting a lot of people, my friend.
That domino effect, I'm sure it's very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you get a
Yeah,
lot of folks, Victor, coming to you with just advice on their eyesight solutions?
more than ever now.
Oh, that's
Yes,
awesome.
more than ever. It's been people are messaging me with you know, issues that I've never even heard of, and I'm giving them suggestions. I'm not a doctor, but you know, it's just what I would do and what I would look into. So for sure, you know, I get that all the time, and I know what they're going through, and I'm here to help. And it's like I like you, Doc, like get off on like helping other people. It's it's my purpose, and that's what I want to do and continue to do. And that's what my documentary is. It's like a roadmap of like I was in this strange hellish situation and how I crawled out of it. So it's like my, you know, my document of how I got to where I am now and where I'm going. And you know, and that's why I'm proud of the film. You know, I'd love people to watch it, to inspire them to not give up. And it's, you know, it's not about just vision loss. It's about mental health. It's about, you know, optimizing your health, optimizing your body, mind, and soul.
That is such a great message. And I'm so sorry, Victor, that we're running so far behind. I told him it was going to be 30 to 45 minutes. We ran way over, so I do apologize for that. Folks, we're going to wrap it up here, but there will be follow-up questions, I'm sure. Please email any questions to info@seeds.md. You can find Victor's amazing movie on iTunes if you search for My Neuroplastic Adventure on iTunes. We'll also link it in our YouTube channel as well as in the links in the description of this episode. So do check that out. And Vision Summits, let us know about that URL one more time. Where can they go to learn more?
Visionoptimizationsummit.com.
Awesome. So make sure you visit that. He's got some amazing speakers lined up, including our very own Dr. Seeds. But in addition to all kinds of other biohackers that you've probably already heard of, and some fantastic doctors and researchers that he is contacted and has been working with. Also, I urge you to go follow him on Instagram. He's got such a great account. It's the at blind biohacker. So go find him on Instagram. Are you also on Facebook, Victor?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
Just my name, Victor John Andrew Mifsud.
There you go, folks. And we're going to link all of that in the episode so you'll be able to find him. I do want to just end on one of the fascinating quotes that I heard you say from earlier in this interview, and that's the environment controls the genes, not what you've been born with. That is a theme, a reoccurring theme here in our podcast, and when you said that, it certainly resonated with me. So love that line. Thank you for your positivity and for helping us all, Victor. This is a fantastic interview. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Lots of love.
Victor, I'm sure we'll be in touch soon. And thanks for sharing your story with so many people. You're doing great things, my friend.
And
Absolutely.
thank you for all your help, Doc.
Thanks,
Got it.
everyone.
All right.
See you next week.